Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, Collective Clicks Nation. Today, we're going to talk about some of the meta stuff that we're hearing around there. I know last weekend we had the big broadcast event, the free tournament. We had the Mississippi States tournament that one of our own did participate in. And he came back with a great tournament report. It kind of filled us in on what all is going on in the meta. And then that led me to finding out what is actually happening in the meta. And Scarab is insanely powerful right now. And until he retires, he's probably the best piece in HeroClix at the moment. So we're going to dive into that today and maybe some ways to beat him. And another piece that I feel like is kind of under the radar, but also extremely powerful. Something that we haven't really looked at in depth because it also, for one, it hasn't been out for very long, and two, it's just a rare, and it's not a chase, super rare, something like that where you're gonna have to spend a lot of money to go out and get. But it is incredibly powerful and works with a whole slew of characters that you probably have in your collection. So, Scarab. Let's talk about this real fast. So Scarab is only 50 points and can hit your opponent from your own starting area. This is incredibly powerful now because we have a bunch of characters that can pop out the stop sign for free. And the stop sign has barrier. So as long as you have 3 characters that can pop out the stop sign or use barrier themselves, that's 12 squares of blocking that your opponent's going to have to get through to get to Scarab. Granted, there are a lot of ways to get around blocking after the rules change goes into effect with Spider-Man Beyond Amazing. But with 12 squares of blocking, there's really only so much that somebody can do, especially because the stop signs we'll just read it off. Let me find it. I don't have it pulled up. The stop signs take away improved movement abilities. So if someone can fly over the blocking, they can no longer fly over the blocking. If someone has improved movement, destroy blocking, if they get within 2 squares of the stop sign, they can't do that. So let me pull that up so you guys can read it. We'll just pull up the Indigo one because it's right here. So, yeah. Granted, these are costed actions to put out the barriers, so you're really only getting 1 attack off with the Scarab. But if you pair it with Commissioner, as long as they're able to take 2 power actions on their turn that aren't barrier, they're able to attack twice for 1 damage. Or they can equip the radioactive clay to Commissioner, as we have seen every time that somebody plays Scarab. They'll equip the radioactive clay to Commissioner, mind control Scarab, and then use Commissioner to let Scarab hit for one more damage. Now that's not a lot of damage, and the mind control, there are ways around it, such as the emotional modifier, but usually with the emotional modifier to combat mind control, you're picking the shape chain or the Battle Fury option of the emotional modifier. And the Battle Fury option requires you to have line of sight to the characters. And if you are using your own barrier terrain to kind of block off lines of fire from Scarab, from your equipped characters, then those characters also lose Battle Fury. So you have to be very careful about your positioning, because what's very popular and really the only way for it to work is for Scarab to outwit Battle Fury on somebody after you select that, and then they can mind control you. So that does take away from something else that he might want to outwit, such as like a 19 defend. If you have a high defensive shell, that's one way to combat Scarab. A high defensive shell with the emotional modifier until you get across the board. If you can't get across the board turn 1, because it's usually very difficult to create a high defensive shell that's also has some maneuverability. So that is one option. Another option is Lockjaw, getting over there as quick as possible. And that's kind of the option that we're going to go into today. Just something that can get over to your opponent's starting area, turn 1, and maybe take a couple hits in the process. Or, hinder your opponent so that they can't put out their barrier. Maybe you can get your construct marker over there before they can pull out their constructs. So if you win if you win initiative against Scarab, you can choose to go first and then take your entire force over into their starting area, use your construct generators to construct your own stop signs and barrier out in front of your opponent. This is a strategy that Caleb Reddick used to high efficiency in the broadcast tournament. He used it against Daniel Powell, and because Daniel Powell really likes to build walls, as anybody who is in the know in the meta community knows, he's a big fan of Thanos, and he likes to build walls. So it's Daniel Powell in a nutshell. At least for the past 2 years now, year and a half, something like that. So Caleb Reddick used that to great effect. He was able to get over to Daniel Powell's starting area and put down his own stop sign construct and make his own barrier so that Daniel couldn't make his. Now, the character that I'm going to talk about that could be very beneficial to you if you're going up against a Scarab, or even if you're going up against something that a lot of people have seen, like a Thanos, like a Scarlet Witch, like a really anything, is Khazar. So Khazar, especially on the small maps, this guy is incredibly powerful. And because since we've seen the Scott Porter unboxing, we know we're getting 4 new 16 by 16 maps in the 2 play at home kits, and we'll probably get 2 more in the battlegrounds. So now we have, what is that, 6 16 by 16 maps. That's 6 more than we had before. And people are going to want to play on those things because the pieces that are coming out in these sets are extremely lackluster in their movement ability and in their range. So as these sets start to retire, especially Wonder Woman 80th, these smaller maps are going to be kind of all of the rage, because people are going to want to play these newer figures. That's kind of the nature of HeroClix. You don't want to reach for a character that's a year old. You want to reach for that new thing that you just pulled the other day. So Khazar, his power action to move and then give another character a move half their movement for free is extremely powerful. And just to show you guys what I'm talking about, he does have the... And granted, you can only do this for characters that share a keyword with him, but he has amazing keywords that fit with almost everything that you would want to build with. He has Animal, Mystical, Ruler, and Warrior. So Warrior covers Sicarian Iron Man, it covers Prime Gamora. I've pulled up a bunch on the left-hand side, but they're all kind of in here somewhere. So Hulkling, it does cover Hulkling if you want to go an Avengers route, kind of, sort of. And guys, I also want to apologize. In my last video, I really don't want theme teams to be dead, but it kind of looks like they're dead. It really doesn't matter if you go first or if you pick map. If you can build a team that can do both at the same time, either build a high defensive shell like 12 squares of barrier or a 19 defense, something along those lines, that can also get over to your opponent's starting area like in one turn, and they can attack. If you can build a team like that, which is extremely easy on the small maps, if you can build a team like that, then it really doesn't matter if you win map or lose map. At the end of the day, these games are going to take place in one person's starting area. I don't see a lot of games going out into the middle of the map. So as long as you're able to take some hits or protect yourself from taking those hits, and at the same time dish out some damage, a well-built team, right? As long as you're able to build a well-built team, you should be fine going second or going first. Okay, so with that out of the way, again, my apologies. I really hope, now with some of the leaks that we got from Spider-Man Beyond Amazing, Sinister Syndicate looks like a very tasty theme team with the Prime Iron Spider to get them all protected, safeguarded outwit. That looks like it's going to be, that could be a lot of fun, and it could be something for you guys, and that might be something we build on this channel, just to add that to our theme repertoire. That looks like a very viable theme team. It looks like it, right, at the moment. Okay, so going through this, again, you do have the Warrior keyword with Khazar that does give you Hulkling, but you also get Hulkling under the Ruler keyword. You get Blackheart because he is a Ruler. You get the Sinestro, who has Pulse Wave, but deals 2 damage instead of 1. So this Pulse Wave is also probably going to make a comeback. If you do have a Blue Marvel, he's only a rare. If you don't have him, he should be fairly cheap on the open market. as same goes for Sinestro. You want a very good pulse wave character, and the reason why Blue Marvel is so good at pulse wave is because he also has Force Blast, so he is going to pulse wave and knock them back a square. And knockback damage it's a thing, and it's something that you need to take into account when you're building your team. Can this team sustain knockback damage? If it can't, or if you're kind of screwed if they get a knockback like someone with Quake over to you, or super strength or something along those lines, you need to really focus on protecting that character or look at rebuilding your team. So, Sinestro. I put him up here because of Pulse Wave, right? And he's a construct generator. So, he's very viable, and especially if you can move him out that additional 4 with Kazar, and then running shot for 4, that gives him, I think that's full map reach. Yes, I think that's full map reach on a small map. So, by his own, full map reach. And if you pair something like this, all these characters really, like a running shot character that has a decent range, if you pair that up with something like a Venom Magneto, you have a full map yo-yo. The hard part is getting over to your opponent's starting area and taking down their barrier. So, like I said, guys, if you don't have barrier on your team, you're still going to want to put it on your team. It's not dead. Barrier is not dead at all. You still need it on your team to protect yourself from ranged attackers, because ranged attackers will have the capability to yo-yo on a small map if they decide to take you there. So Sinestro is a good one. Kang the Conqueror is actually kind of got like a hidden bump from the rules change with the Spider-Man team ability change. He is a team player, so he can copy it, and his defensive power allows him to heal every time he succeeds on senses. So if you make that senses a 4 through 6, and then maybe equip him with the Wonder Woman bracelets, make it a 3 through 6, this guy is insanely difficult to kill. Is that protected? It is protected outwit senses, so they can't outwit it. There's really no way around it. If they have precision strike, it only reduces it by 1, but if you have the Wonder Woman bracelets and a Spider-Man family character on your force, this guy is probably unkillable. That's why I put him up here, and he can also go on with Kazar. So, I mean, as long as you stay away from a Leech or Scarlet Witch, right? And Scarlet Witch works with Kazar. So all of these pieces, you can build a decent team. Put Imagine Jasper's up here. He's generally not wanting to move around too much. He's usually being carried, honestly. But if you need to get him into position to, trade off an object, maybe you put the Angler on Scarlet Witch to get her up into your opponent's starting area. Kazar can free our power action to move him 4. That way he gets the full 8 or full 12 squares of reach. Sorry, for his movement. Now, that's not something that's going to necessarily benefit you, but you also, that's 2 free squares of barrier terrain around Scarlet Witch, if you do go that route. So that's Imagine Jasper's. Death Metal Wonder Woman, also generally not wanting to move around too much, but she is up here because she does work. Now, Blackheart kind of got a nerf. Excuse me. Kind of got a nerf with the with knockback damage coming back. If he does take knockback damage, you're kind of in over your head. If they have a character with Quake or something along those lines. Let me turn my head around. I just finished with a workout, guys, so I was kind of cooling off, and I was like, man, I need to record a video. So here we go. So Blackheart is extremely good, especially if you have Kazar. I mean, he has full map reach by himself, and Kazar kind of makes him a yo-yo just by him taking movement action, not even having to use your TK on Blackheart. And that's something to keep in mind. You just need to protect him from knockback damage. So whether it's putting the stones on him instead of the soul sword or something like that, something that can give him toughness or anything along those lines. So Blackheart, decent, not great anymore, but Emperor Gladiator is insanely good, and he does work with Kazar. So if you pair this with Venom Magneto, right, he running shots out 7. Venom Magneto can full or double TK him back to the starting area, but you can also just use it with Kazar and save that TK for something like your Scarlet Witch. So you could double TK out Scarlet Witch. If you have Kazar and Mad Jim, I think you can do it. She angles out to an object, drops the rune. That's 2 actions. 3rd action is running shot. 4th action is bring him back with Kazar. So a very good character that does work with Kazar. I think I counted those actions right. Correct me in the comments if I'm wrong. TK out, angle, drop the rune. That's 2 actions, right? And then 3rd action, running shot, probably with the pumpkin bombs. And then 4th action to bring him back with Kazar. I think that works. Now, granted, these new maps, we are definitely going to have to see what they look like to see if you will have clear lines of fire to your opponent's team. Guessing not, right? So these running shot pieces that I'm talking about, I'm guessing that they won't have a clear line of fire to your opponent's starting area, but there are ways to generate that. Mr. Fantastic is really good at that. Like the 40-point Hulk that can move through, destroys all blocking terrain, so you could TK him up there and then destroy all the blocking terrain and then shoot. That's one way to do it. There's probably a cheaper option for improved movement blocking, destroy, but he's the cheapest one off the top of my head. Like I said, I've been building a lot with Avengers lately. So going back through this, Blackheart, Emperor Gladiator, there's a Scarab right there. Now the Prime Wonder Woman also works with this, guys, if you do want to move into position with that. Another character that really does work is Chip. These are 2 construct generators that do work with it. I also want to say Indigo 1 is a warrior, so she could also work with Kazar, but generally that's too many points just for construct generators, and you want to spend those construct generators on your Star Sapphires, your Saint Walkers, your Chips, your Batman Prime, if you want to use that Prime, but something under 40 points. You don't really want to go up to 50. The reason why I bring up Prime Wonder Woman is because she does so much more than generate constructs. She's insanely good. She was on both winning builds from the events this past weekend. That 19 defend is scary good with the 4 through 6 senses. Insanely powerful. Cosmic energy, so she's protected outwit, and nobody wants to attack her first. No one wants to go after this piece, and I can understand why. She's insanely good. So Prime Wonder Woman, Sicarian Iron Man also works with it. If you want a super duper alpha team, you could run Sicarian Iron Man. Now Sicarian Iron Man is just 50 points of why don't you play this piece. He's your Swiss Army knife. If you need Pulse Wave, you got Pulse Wave. If you need Force Blast, you got Force Blast. If you need Super Strength, you got it. You need Quake, you got it. This piece is insanely good. If you don't have it, he's going to jump up in price if he hasn't already. Pick a power piece, especially with the new rules, is going to be insanely good. There's really no way to plan for everything, and Sicarian Iron Man really helps with that. And he does work with Kazar. So, say you go up there, you do your alpha, and then you sidestep back or something. Kazar can move him out an additional 7 squares if he has both of his objects. So it's almost like a Sky Tyrant, but you get to pick what Sky Tyrant does. So, and with Perplex on top of the outwit. So he's insanely good, especially with Kazar. And Cosmo, the Prime Gamora, is here. She's kind of a glass cannon, really nothing to protect her. So you'd probably want to put Carnage Symbiote on her, or the Illusion Generator, something with shape change. Maybe even the Warlock Sword to give her blades on that top click. She already has blades throughout the dial, but plasticity, shape change is probably her best friend at the moment. This is obviously her 60-point dial. She does have a 125-point dial, but with Kazar, she does have that full map reach. I also want to bring up Police keyword is also really good. She has police, and the Death Metal Wonder Woman also has a police keyword. Granted, keywords don't really matter that much anymore. I'm just trying to break my head out of it. But I just noticed that they both had the police keyword, and I'm kind of kicking myself on that one because I definitely would have built a police team with Miles Morales if I had known that. Maybe not with her, but definitely with Death Metal Wonder Woman. Okay, so that's Prime Gamora, Cosmo. If you're not playing Scarlet Witch or Agatha Harkness, Cosmo's probably your go-to for power cancels. And this piece is also really good for getting up in your opponent's starting area if you decide to go first and you want to lock them down. So he can go up there, select, say they can't use sidestep or mind control, or if they're obviously if they're running Scarab, mind control. But something along those lines, and then you just sit him in the back next to, say, Lockjaw, who's also on this list because he's also an animal and also can move half of his speed with Kazar. So as long as you stick him next to Lockjaw for that mastermind stuff, really good. I brought up Chip already. Okay, so here's a piece that no one is talking about, and I kind of wanted to keep it a secret, but it's... I gotta tell you guys. I don't like keeping secrets. I'll tell you guys everything that I find out as soon as I'm able to record, or everything that I find. But Wonder Woman and Jumpa is extremely good. Extremely good. With these new rules changes. So Force Blast, she doesn't have Force Blast. So it's, but she has Quake. So her retaliation. Free. If no friendly character has been placed this turn, choose an opposing character within 8 squares that dealt damage to a friendly character since your last turn. Place Wonder Woman and Jumpa adjacent to the opposing character. Then she can use Force Blast at no cost, targeting all adjacent opposing characters. So say you take Sicarian Iron Man, run him across the board, hit something with the mystical team ability, and then use Kazar to, or I guess you wouldn't. I guess you could actually. You could use Kazar to move him out of the way, and then you send Wonder Woman and Jumpa over there to knock every single one of his characters back into the rim of the map, dealing them all 1 damage. Maybe not every single one, but every one that's adjacent to her, right? And then she can incap as free, and then Quake to knock them back again. This piece is extremely good, kind of flying under the radar at the moment, but I think this is the best Colossal Retaliation that we have in the game until Carnage comes out, that 10-point Carnage that I wish I had. I really wish I played this game longer than I have with all these great legacy cards that are coming out. WizKids has really stepped up their game to kind of reward people that have held on to everything. But I have a bad tendency of throwing out things that I don't play with anymore. And Carnage was one of them, and I feel really sad about it. Yeah, guys, that's one more Carnage off the market. I threw mine away. Yeah, that's me. I'm that idiot. Okay, so... I might cut that out. So, Rack Knight, obviously, extremely good. Good piece, and he does work with Kazar. He doesn't need to work with Kazar. He's extremely good just by himself. I also wanted to bring up Atrocitus to get him up adjacent to somebody so that they can't use Stop or be healed. If you did want to use Atrocitus, he's definitely not the most popular construct generator, but if you are able to move him up adjacent to somebody and then pop out, say, the lasso to push out your opponent so that they can't attack him during the next turn, that is a benefit. He also has PC. So for any of you guys that are lacking PC and a power canceller, Atrocitus might be for you if you do have some of those old pieces. Granted, I feel like Scarlet Witch is the better option because she does have both of those, but she's a pretty penny, just like a Rack Knight is. So don't worry about it if you don't have her. There are definitely ways to build your team without spending $250 on one piece. But I do have them down here at the bottom. Both of the witches, Scarlet Witch and Agatha Harkness, because they both have the mystical keyword. So mystical keyword, that gives you the Apocalypse, that gives you Lady Roma, And it does give you the Wonder Woman and Jump as well. There's got to be a better mystical piece besides Arachnite and Scarlet Witch that would really benefit from this, but I can't think of it off the top of my head. Maybe Agnes, the 45-point super rare, something like that, or God, there's got to be one that has. Oh, yeah, the common Scarlet Witch, the Passenger 3 Scarlet Witch, or the Passenger 4 Magic. That can really get up into your opponent's team, so you could drop them all there. The problem with Mystical is that it doesn't have a construct generator, so you'd have to look into Animal for Chip or Warrior for Sinestro or something along those lines. There's not a cheap option besides Chip to work with Kazar. But you could also just say, I don't want this piece to work with Kazar, and throw on Star Sapphire. Star Sapphire might be the best 25 points in the game now. Definitely the best that's not a super rare or Shades. Before I think it was Commissioner, but now I think Star Sapphire is taking that lead spot. And she won't be there for long. So come July, she will be retiring. If WizKids doesn't do something crazy and do an early retirement. I know that's something that's been done before. I think it's only been done once though, for the D20 Felix. Yeah, the D20 Felix Faust got early retired, but it was only like 3 months before it was supposed to be retired. And I have a strange feeling that that's going to happen for maybe even a slew of characters, just a whole bunch of them that really take advantage of these smaller maps and these new rules and some of the power changes that have come into HeroClix kind of unexpectedly. Some of the pieces that they've made over the past 2 years really seem undercosted, I'll say. They're not broken. There's definitely ways to beat them, but you kind of have to build with them in mind, and they're pieces that people haven't really thought about in a while, besides Scarab. But things like Chip, and Chip's been a big thing for a while, but things like Star Sapphire, all the construct generators, I don't think we'll get an early retirement on anything other than maybe Scarab. The more I think about it, that's kind of where I land if they do decide to go that route. But I know a lot of players are kind of waiting for retirement before they even try to build a team, and I understand. At this point, it's really difficult to build against Scarab. At least build a team that can beat Scarab and then beat everything else that you might see at a tournament. But I feel like if I build a team that only beats Scarab, like I just build a team to beat Scarab, everything else I can kind of play around, especially with the maneuverability that something like a Kazar offers me. But I just want to let you guys in on these two pieces, Scarab and Kazar. Scarab is insanely good, guys. If you have it and you want to play it, take advantage of it, because you only have them for another 3 or 4 months. So take advantage of Scarab now while you can, because we won't have them for much longer. But Kazar we will have for a while. So you will have multiple opportunities to take advantage of this guy. Whatever you want to build, as long as it has one of these keywords, which most teams have one character that have Animal, Mystical, Ruler, or Warrior on them. I can just, there's so many characters so many teams that have a character with one of those keywords that Kazar might just be a decent fit, especially if that character is one of your main attackers. So Kazar is insanely good, guys. I wanted to bring him up for you. I have a couple teams that I'll just, let's see. So this is one of the teams that I made, just thinking off the top of my head. Those last 30 points I wasn't really sure what to do with, but I've always loved Valeria Von Doom, and I really want to use her before she retires. I've loved the Dooms for a long time. Dr. Doom is one of my favorite villains in the Marvel Universe. So I really want to use one of those pieces, and I feel like Valeria Von Doom is also kind of flying under the radar. She really hurts Destroyer. She hurts Alpha Strike teams, especially some of the ones that are coming out with Lockjaw and the animal shenanigans, Fantastic Four kind of thing that comes over into your starting area. She really hurts those kind of teams. But I don't know if that's the best 30 points because it's kind of building for your opponent to come over into your area. The better 30 points is probably a Mr. Fantastic to help clear terrain markers. Either a Mr. Fantastic or a Felix Faust, something like that. But all these pieces, all the pieces that matter besides Valeria Von Doom and Venom Magneto, right? Besides those two pieces, everything on this team works with Kazar. Chip, Sicarian Iron Man, Scarlet Witch. Granted, it's only 3 pieces, but those are 3 of the better pieces in the game. And this is probably what I'm going to practice with going forward. These last 30 points I might mess around with. Might do like a Star Sapphire and a Pumpkin Bombs or a Radioactive Clay, something like that. But again, guys, that's it for today's video. I really just wanted to fill you in on what happened over this past weekend in HeroClix World. I'll do another video going over the Scott Porter unboxings, which they've done a lot of updates to those videos, and the videos themselves look amazing. If you guys haven't gone out and watched them, please do yourself a favor after this video is over, because it's about to be over. Go over there and watch those videos. They have done an amazing job, and shout out to WizKids and RPG Studios for really upping the ante on what we can expect from them going forward. But Scott Porter has done an amazing job with those unboxings. It's made it fun to watch, even though the entire set was leaked right before his unboxing started being released. So all that out of the way, guys, this is it for today's video. Just going over Scarab, and I wanted to bring up Kazar. Hope you guys have a great week, great weekend. Enjoy the rest of it. Peace. Go Cheese.
You could try to play it, but you're never gonna beat me. Look the other way, what I'm doing ain't easy. Bloody hands stained from the people who deceive me. Muddy hands break through the chains, go free me. Looking for change, looking for pain.